What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Bulls Latest. Your host, Matt Johnson, here. To kick off this Thursday show, I want to talk about what it's going to take for the Bulls to stay in contention and to ultimately build a contender with what they have. Starting with Josh Giddey's deal, obviously that was the biggest moment of the offseason for the Chicago Bulls. Second coming in, the Isaac Okoro addition, flipping Lonzo Ball for him. Obviously, that was a big moment for this franchise this offseason as well. But Giddey's contract, it's not a contract that should prelude the Bulls from constructing a competitive team. That's what I think makes this interesting. It's a deal you can build around most definitely. When you look at newly minted Hall of Fame head coach Billy Donovan, he wants to move fast. He wants to break things in bombs away from the three-point line. I think that's his style of play. I think that's going to carry over into this year. No team made larger year-over-year leaps in pace of play, passes per game, and average distance traveled than the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls didn't play faster after Giddey took the reins, though, but they did play more effectively, improving from a bottom 10 team in transition scoring efficiency before the Levine trade to a top 10 team afterwards. So I just think when you're looking at the lack of changes on the roster, only the Thunder and the T-Wolves return more of last season's minutes than the Bulls. It seems like this will remain the plan when it comes to what they're going to look to do with the guys that they currently have. So I think surrounding Giddey with sprinters and knockdown shooters who play fast and hunt every opportunity to attack and transition would ultimately suit the Bulls best when it comes to trying to win as many ball games as possible and staying in contention. Now, like I've talked about many times throughout this offseason, this Eastern Conference is wide open given the injury. So it'll be fun. I think the Bulls still have the pieces to really compete. I think they at the least could stay where they've been the last couple of years, and that's in the play-in conversation. Obviously, the Bulls win total I've gone over a few times with you guys. Instead, it's somewhere near 32.5 wins. I think that has to do a lot with what could potentially happen as we hit or get near February and that trade deadline and a lot of the moving pieces on this Bulls roster, in the future years here. So we'll have to take a look at that and what that kind of brings to the table. But, another connection to this, and this is kind of what I want to talk to next, it is no secret that the Bulls lack really elite talent on this roster. It's an approach when you look to contend in an Eastern Conference like this that requires a lot to go right. The Bulls need Kobe White to accomplish his goal of a career-best three-point shooting season. And then once he's healthy, I think Kevin Huerter can be a guy who can continue to, post-trade resurgence. He could look to continue to improve his shooting percentage, shooting 37.6 from deep last year after coming over as a result of that Levine trade. I think they need Ayo Dosunmu and new arrival Isaac Okoro to make an impact in the defensive side of the ball as well, and at the point of attack while continuing their offensive growth. I think Ayo Dosunmu, we know we're going to get as Bulls fans from this guy, but Isaac Okoro has left a lot to be desired in terms of what to expect from this guy. And obviously, I know Lonzo Ball was a Bulls fan favorite for sure, so Isaac Okoro is going to have a lot of expectations coming over to what he could provide for this team. And I know personally, just looking at the tape on Isaac Okoro, I know what he provides defensively. This guy is going to be an impact punch player on the defensive side of the ball. It's really what he could bring to the offensive side of the table and that part of his game that could really shoot the Bulls into contention here. They could really use at least one or two more members of the league's least notable wing group as well, and Pat Williams, Dalen Terry, and Julian Phillips to take a leap. And I've talked about in recent episodes, more specifically about Dalen Terry, and that he's coming into this season much bigger. He kind of had a physical transition in terms of the offseason, turning himself into something that we haven't seen. That's a guy with more size, and he looks fantastic coming into camp the last couple of days. So I think Dalen Terry is going to take that leap if I had to guess out of the three guys. However, you can't rule out Julian Phillips. This is a guy I was really, really excited about them drafting a year ago, and he really didn't get the opportunity or fill that big of a role for this Bulls team. And then Pat Williams, you guys know how I feel about him. I'm very disappointed in what he's been, given the contract that he received and this extension that the Bulls gave him, which has been a mistake up to this point. But if there's a guy who should come out hungry and ready to prove something, I think that's Pat Williams, and we'll definitely have to keep an eye on him as we move into the beginning part of this next season, just to see how his role is going to look and what he carves out in this Bulls team in terms of an opportunity to be an impact player. So I just think, when you look at this team as a whole, the best case scenario, I'll go over both with you guys, but a best case scenario and a worst case scenario. The best case scenario for this Bulls team is that if everything works just the way they drew it up around Giddey, they're playing with the fastest pace in the league, they're launching three-pointers like the Celtics, their elite transition game and a top 8 offense with Giddey and White flirting with all-star nods, and then Modest Buzelis stamping himself as a rising star, all of which is enough to earn a top 6 seed and the opportunity to make actual playoff noise in a shuffled up Eastern Conference. I think when you look at all of those elements to this Bulls team, that's really what it's going to take. It's going to take pretty much what goes on around Josh Giddey, and if they continue to stick to that identity in which they were successful with a year ago, and that's playing with pace. So this Bulls team getting out in transition is a fun one to watch. I think the league knows that, and that's why they try to slow the Bulls down any opportunity they can get. Modest Buzelis has all the expectations in the world, of course. I've talked about that a ton, and really what we saw in the Summer League in those minutes that he got, he's going to see an expanded role big time with this team. I think the combination of Kobe White and Josh Giddey is an exciting one. We'll have to see with some of those reserves. I think those wings are going to be critical to the Bulls' success. I think that group of Pat Williams, Dalen, and Julian Phillips, one of those guys need to take a leap for this Bulls team to truly have an opportunity to hit the next level here. So we'll see what happens. That's ultimately the best case scenario, though. And then finally, just wrapping up today's show, I think the worst case scenario, and if everything falls apart, honestly, for me, it would be another year of we kind of muddle around between 15th and 21st on both sides of the ball in terms of where we rank in the league. Nobody looks like an all-star. We win 38 games. I think 38 games, even though our win total is set at 32.5, would be a bit of a disappointment for me. Again, I think we're going to soar over that win total if everything stays in place and Iodasumo doesn't get moved and Nikola Vucevic doesn't get moved, at least prior to February. I think it is very plausible to see this team win somewhere north of 40 to 42 games. I mean, I really think that they can be a 500 ball club or better, especially in a year where the Eastern Conference is going to look very different. So for me, a disappointment, and the worst case scenario is that we finished kind of middle ground. I think that, winning 38 games would be worst case for me. I'm kind of sick, and I know a lot of Bulls fans could probably agree, but I'm sick of being in that play in purgatory, that middle of the pack in the Eastern Conference. I think that seems like falling apart to me. Now, I'm not saying this is the most talented group in the Eastern Conference. I think they are talented enough, however, and they have a now Hall of Fame coach to kind of get them to that next level. I want to see growth from this previous year to now, and I want them to set themselves up for an identity that really sparks the future of the Chicago Bulls team looking at years ahead. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I know that's a lot of optimism from me in today's show. I think overall, when you look at a team who lacks elite talent, there are ways in which the Bulls could find ways to win ball games with the depth that they have. There is still some talent on this team from top to bottom, and some other teams are lacking what the Bulls do have. You look at some of these other teams who have really had a rough go in recent years. The Bulls aren't necessarily in the worst spot. So I would like to see them. My goal this year for this team is to flirt with a top 6 seed. I think a lot of Bulls fans would want to push for that as well. I don't think tanking in the draft for this upcoming year is in the Bulls' plans. It really never has been, at least since this new format was rolled out with the play-in tournament, as we all know. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Bulls Latest today. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button. It goes a long way for the channel. We are so close to Bulls preseason basketball kicking off and right around the corner from regular season ball. Super exciting time of year. You guys have a good one, and we will see you guys on tomorrow's show.